Are you going to hit?
Hello, hey, welcome, hey, Matt. Are you gonna stop talking for once when I start this
I'm out of
show?
here. I'm done.
Every time, Matt. Hey,
I'm here.
welcome to Unfiltered. This is Paul Kirch. I am the host of Boss Academy Radio, and that handsome man over there is Matt Zalewski. He is the founder of the Perception Management Bureau. We're joining up forces on Friday afternoon to host our own little show called Unfiltered. It's just a casual little conversation about marketing, sales, and whatever else we want to talk about. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. Another great week coming to an end, and I'm looking forward to the weekend. What about you?
Um, wow. Yeah, I think you and I both have had the same perspective on what a great week means, and that's a lot of sarcasm on both ends.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So by great week, I mean, great week.
Great that it's Friday and it's almost over. Yeah. All
Yeah, it
right.
is. It is. Some weeks are better than others, but that's just, that's part of the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is a fake smile right here because I actually got on this call and I was grouchy, but I'm warming up and I'm doing much better now. Just because, once the camera goes on, maybe I should just walk around a camera in front of my face. I'll be happy all the time.
Actually, you do. You're just not the proprietor of that camera. There's cameras.
Oh, this is not going to be one of those conspiracy conversations, is it?
No, but it's an awareness conversation. They're everywhere. You're always on camera anyway.
Matt can go to some dark places, but it's all good. Hey, so Unfiltered is just
What
it's
happened?
meant to be just a
Who's that?
casual kind of lounge atmosphere where a couple of guys getting together over a couple of brews. Although I have water, I'm sure you've got your green smoothie. What are you drinking?
Damn. Hate it when you're right. I have a green smoothie.
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't look very green. It looks like brown. What is that? Swamp water?
Yeah, it is. It's from the backyard. I usually I'll fill up a bucket, throw some stuff in there, and let it bake for a day or two, and then I drink it. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
You are proof positive that the green drink can do good things to a body. But anyway,
Right on. So, what are we talking about today, boss man? Huh?
so,
Boss Academy guy?
last time we talked about marketing and
Mhm.
some different things that people need to be taken in consideration. But we also know that a lot of people are making mistakes out there, and we make our own mistakes. It's like we haven't figured out every answer, but there's a lot of reasons that marketing fails.
Mhm.
And I think it's just makes sense that we kind of just jump in and talk about that. And of course, we can talk about some other things today too. But from your perspective, why do you see a lot of marketing campaigns out there not working?
Quite honestly, I have a whole system built around expectations to where I align expectations based on what I'm going to be doing for myself, for clients, and so on and so forth. And those expectations are built on previous experience, the individual market that I'm in, and I don't align or create those expectations until I actually review what I'm going to be doing. So, if any service provider comes in and says we're going to be able to deliver X, Y, and Z, and they have asked you zero questions, that expectation is bullshit. And you will be disappointed because they're not going to deliver, they're not going to provide. The fact is, you don't set expectations until you do your research. When you set expectations ahead of the research, you're setting yourself up for failure, which will later detour you from what you're supposed to be doing. So from that perspective, I think a lot of stuff fails not because it's a bad product, not even because the marketing's bad. Something is misaligned, but it's not approached strategically, and it's not approached with research. So therefore, the expectation that you're going to make X, Y, and Z in 90 days or 120 days, or you're going to convert 20% or 30, none of that is based on reality. Those are just, it's fugazi, as the guy said.
Well,
It's
80%
just
of all metrics are made up on the spot. You know that, right?
that.
I said 80% of all metrics are made up on the spot.
Exactly. Kind of like the metric you just provided, right?
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, that's
80%. Right.
I mean, I think a lot of times, I mean, I've been in the marketing research industry in some capacity since 1990, and I hear a lot of people use the term marketing research, market research, and they use them interchangeably. But quite frankly, a lot of times we just don't do a good enough job of uncovering why and what people are really looking for. And I think salespeople are often guilty of this too. It's like, if you're out in a sales process, we don't ask enough questions. We don't really validate. It's like, is this person buying from us because of we're the best service provider, or are they buying from us because we have the best price? Or are they being lazy in their approach? We just happen to be there at the right time. I mean, if you want their business long term and you're not just looking for a one-off sale. You kind of need to know why people are really buying and pulling that trigger.
Yeah, very, very, very true. But, to figure that out, there's a certain amount of information that your client will give you up front. And some of it will be factual, some will be based on some of their expectations. But I think that doing demographical research on where the client sits, whether it's a small or large company, but also on their product and service and how that's going to impact everything. I see a lot of companies and clients. They think they're failing, right? Because their approach is not yielding the success that they want. But what they don't do is go back and break apart everything that's going on and say, okay, where is the process really breaking down? I've seen organizations try to run back and restructure their service offering, or maybe even retool their product because they're not making the type of sales that they want to make. But nowhere along the way do they pause and stop and say, well, we're getting a lot of people showing interest in us. We're just not converting them to clients. Focus on that versus automatically assuming that your product has to be retooled. So, take a lot more methodical approach to what you're doing. It really is a very, marketing to a certain extent is a very scientific process when you're evaluating what you're doing, and a very artistic process in how you choose to market and sell it. So it's an art and a science. But I think that when it comes to looking at metrics and looking at your clients and what's working and what isn't, you have to be very, very methodical. You have to be very objective. You have to have no real, the more detached you are from it and the more objective you are, the better product and service you're going to provide your clients. And the better you're going to be able to align expectations. So the failed approach is not necessarily a failed approach.
Yeah, that's why often it makes sense to, elicit the support or the help of an outside agency or somebody like yourself. I mean, I know you write copy for clients, but sometimes coming outside of the organization you're supporting allows you to really represent their brand more effectively than when you're bogged down by all the love for your product and services that really the buyers don't have. And, there's see yourself in such an amazing light. And we all think that we have the best brand out there in the world, but if people aren't buying it, so sometimes having an outside consultant or outside copywriter, outside ad agency helping, they can come in with clear, unobstructed view.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because I think in marketing, knowing and being very much aware of what's going on in the heads of the people that you're either writing for or marketing to is extremely important. But just as important is detachment. Detachment is a true gift in marketing. When you're part of an organization and you're in front of a product or a service day in and day out, you develop blind spots that you're not going to natively see them. When someone comes in and looks at your organization from a truly outside point of view, just like you suggested, they're going to be able to observe certain patterns and certain things that you're just not going to be aware of. And that's the true advantage of bringing somebody else in. But to back up a little bit to back up to the point where you said concerning copy. Yeah, I do write copy, but when I'm asked to write copy, I need to write copy based on something. So copy without research, to me, I can't write copy without research because I don't know who I'm writing for. So I think to bring a consultancy in just to do copy, and with them saying, yeah, we'll do copy for you, and not asking any background questions or not having them offer you some kind of a research capability, should signal to you as the organization that's hiring this copywriting firm or individual, that it's probably not a good idea to bring them on board, because they should be asking you exhaustive questions and asking you for various types of information before they even talk about writing copy. And that all plays into a successful marketing campaign, because if you write copy based on a whim or assumption, yeah, your approach is most likely going to fail.
Oh, well, for sure. And when I say outside perspective, I mean, I'm talking about the unobstructed view, but then it comes back to who's doing the research, who's asking the right questions, and it's ironic that a lot of my clients are in the marketing research space, and you ask them to do research of their customers and they lose their head. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh my God, that seems like such a foreign concept to them, even though that's what they do all day for their clients.
Right. But that's the type of blind spot that I'm talking about, is that even with my own organization, I have you, and I have trusted individuals that are hand selected, and there are very few that I go to with ideas and concepts, and just to get my head on straight, because I know that when it comes to my company, my products, my services, and so on and so forth, I have blind spots, and I'm aware of that. So because I'm aware of it, I tend to pay attention to it more, but that doesn't mean that I can get rid of them. I have to go to outside counsel and say, hey, give me a fresh perspective on this idea, see if it makes sense, give it a couple of days, provide me with your harsh criticism, because I'd rather get harsh criticism from a trusted advisor or a consultant than having to.
Whoa. Let's back up there. I get to offer you harsh criticism?
You all the time, and I love it.
Man, I'm telling you.
You're the man. I love it.
Actually, that haircut.
No, you do.
I wish I could get away with it. My wife thinks I look like I'm going through chemotherapy. No offense to anybody out there who's dealing with that. No disrespect, but she does not think I look good with my hair shaved. So,
oh, man, that's terrible. I think you look fantastic, and I for one think that you should not care what she says. That's just me.
I stopped caring years ago. Hey, honey, if you're listening, that's a lie. I love you.
He tells me all the time he doesn't care. But basically it's a lot easier to course correct when you're starting out in a process and you have a trusted source that can provide you with truly objective information, even if it might hurt your feelings, even if you think you have this great product and someone says, yeah, it's great, but you may want to tighten up this aspect or that aspect. To do that up front is it's a lot cheaper, to put it in plain terms, than to have to go out there and spend money on advertising or building a whole infrastructure and funnel around something that may be missing something that's pivotal. So having those trusted sources nearby who will be honest with you is one of the pivotal components that you need to make sure that your approach actually works. A lot of approaches fail because people are afraid of criticism because they think that criticism is a negative thing, and it's not. If it's criticism just to criticize and get on your nerves, it's one thing. But if it's constructive and it comes from a place of objectivity, it's probably the most valuable asset that an entrepreneur or businessman has.
Yeah, but nobody tells someone that their baby's ugly without offending that other person. And unfortunately, sometimes when we provide honest, constructive feedback, people are hurt by it. Now, it's funny. I'm in a mastermind group. Well, I mastermind with this woman that we hold each other accountable on the podcasting space. She's a podcaster. We listen to each other's show. We provide feedback. And I noticed that, when she's on video, she's really dynamic and got a great personality. On audio, she comes across as very flat. And so I wanted to tell her this. I didn't want her to be offended. And so I reached out to her by email, and I was really, I didn't walk on eggshells, but I kind of laid it out there the way it was. I said, look, maybe you should record yourself on video, strip out the audio, because I said there's something missing there. And I thought she was going to take offense to it. She actually welcomed it with open arms and thought it was great feedback. She went back and was very honest with her own review after listening to it. But so many people are so sensitive and they're so offended the minute you mention anything's wrong with their product or their service or their offering. And
well, for those people, I have some bad news for you. You should probably go get a fucking job, because the minute you put an idea out there, you put a concept, idea, or product, it could be perfect, almost perfect. It could work for 90% of your target demographic, and it could work great, and it could be everything you said it was. There are still going to be people that are going to say your stuff is crap. So if you don't like criticism, go live in a bubble and don't engage in an activity that takes your ideas and concepts and puts them in front of people. And by the very nature of business, you're attracting both criticism and applause, right? You're going to attract both type of activities. So if someone out there saying your stuff sucks really kind of boggles you down and screws you up for days or weeks at a time, get a job, because, at least that's simpler. You won't have, but that's part of the emotional roller coaster that is business ownership or entrepreneurship. So I know that you have a lot of different tactics that you use to combat that in terms of Boss Academy and stuff like that, where, those are the type of things that could derail people for a very long time when they genuinely have good ideas and good products and they're really dynamic individuals, they just care a little bit about too much about what one or two people may think of them. So I think that what you provide is very pivotal and very foundational in the process.
You know what I find really interesting, though, is the more that I advanced in my career, the more that I learned, the more knowledge I had, the less sensitive I was to providing honest feedback to clients and other people. But I still every now and then run across somebody who says, yeah, that's great, but we think otherwise. And that's fine. But then those campaigns don't work out so well, or they run into resistance because they are very closed-minded. But quite frankly, those aren't the people I'm going to want to work with anyway. If I can't be honest, if somebody's paying me money to give them consulting advice and I can't give them honest advice without them taking it, and they don't have to like it, but they have to at least listen to it, that's a problem. And that happens from time to time, where you run into somebody who's like, yeah, we don't agree with you. Okay, well, great. But let's see how this campaign really works out.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper
by going out and asking other people for input.
Right. And I think it's just, if you're that much in love with your idea where you think that it's not going to fail ever, it's not going to encounter any criticism, then I think that reflects a lot of frailty in your approach to your business. You have to, in business, you have to be not fragile, but durable. You have to be that item that can withstand weathering and punishment and excessive pressure and so on and so forth. So that way you can endure all the, course correction that's going to inevitably take place as you progress forward in business. So,
yeah, well, let me touch on that. Tony Robbins, he doesn't consider somebody who owns a business or is business oriented as an entrepreneur. I mean, he considers an entrepreneur as somebody who their sole mission is to build up a business and turn around and sell it, or buy a business and sell it. Their whole idea is, it's almost like the guy who's flipping houses, but really their concept is flipping businesses. That's what he views as an entrepreneur. He has several other categories, and one of them is interesting. He considers them artists that are, small business minded, or they're business minded. They have their own business, but they're more in love with what they do. And, arguably Boss Academy Radio. I'm in love with Boss Academy Radio. The idea of turning around and selling it to somebody else, even though I'm building it with scale in mind, that's not on my radar today. So, I mean, it's arguably, you could say that, hey, Paul's an artist, not an entrepreneur, according to his definition. Most of us use much more of a broad definition when we think an entrepreneur. But my point behind this is, you take somebody who's that artist who's in love with their product and services, they are going to be much more sensitive. Whereas the entrepreneur, according to that definition, is the guy who's like, if it's going to make me money making this change, I'll make that change. Mm-hmm. And I think you need to have both of those mindsets. Really, if you're going to run a small business, you need to stop being so fixated with your objects and services and stop being in love and focus more on what's going to really make money, because that money is going to allow you to invest and grow and give back and do other things.
Absolutely. I think that just like everything else, there's no such thing as a pure singularity in any perspective. And I think, entrepreneurship and business ownership is the same exact thing. You have to, I think the genesis for most products and services is that love of whatever it is that you're doing. And then, of course, comes the harsh reality of people criticizing it or not liking it, or you having to modify it to make it marketable. So I think you have to play both sides of the house. You can't be an exclusive artist when you're an entrepreneur. You also have to be an objective business person, an adult who says, maybe what I love doesn't sell. And a lot of people don't like hearing that. But, I like walking around in the woods and hiking. No one's going to give me a freaking penny to do that. So guess what? That's a hobby, right?
I could see you in a little park ranger hat.
Yeah, park ranger sounds awesome, but that's not, there's a whole different thing. Nothing wrong with park rangers, but I just, I like to make the money. So, and park rangers don't.
So you want your cake and eat it too. You want to make money, but
also. Yes. With a capital Y. I don't want just a cake. I want several cakes, and I want to eat them all.
And you want my cake too, I'm assuming.
No, you make your own. I'll make my own. You make your own. But I want a lot. No, the point is that I want what I want, and people have to come to terms with the fact that sometimes what you love may have to be modified or somehow adjusted to make it marketable. It doesn't mean you have to stop. It just means that maybe you deliver the product or service a little bit differently. But again, what I always say, it always boils down to research. If you know what you want to provide and you know how it helps people, you can adjust and modify that to make it marketable, providing you understand the needs of your demographic. So, again, it's just about understanding what it is and what it is that you're doing and who you're doing it for. The better you understand that, the more you'll be able to even endure criticism, or, the better you'll do on a course correction.
Amen, man. I love it. So what else do you want to talk about today? You had some ideas. Yeah,
Who did?
You did. You had some ideas the other day.
I did? I don't remember them. You're going to have to refresh my memory.
I don't know. It's hard telling. So how's business these days?
Actually, very, very busy and very, very challenging in terms of content and alignment of expectations, which is very kind of related to what we're talking to right now.
Let's talk about it. Tell me about how are you focusing on juggling multiple clients and keeping expectations aligned? Well,
I never really go off into, fairy dust land from that perspective in terms of...
I like how you added in that perspective, because, there are other times, but that's beside the point.
Well, that's the weekends. That's none of your business, Paul.
That's what you're doing out in the woods.
Hey, come on now. That's not even... Okay. But no, it's just... keeping the expectations as realistic from the start and just sticking to it, no matter how much the client may want to deviate, you basically stay the course. It sounds very easy because as a concept it is, but it's a lot more difficult to do because we all want to accommodate clients and provide them with the best level of service and productivity. But that sometimes means that you say no. You just flat out say no. It's not going to be done this way. And if you want it done this way, here's what's going to happen. And maybe I won't even participate in it. It sounds a little harsh, but I think that type of objectivity, clarity, and honesty is, in the end, very much appreciated. Because I think that a lot, there's what I call the real world, and then there's the spreadsheet world, right? In the real world is where me and you live, practical application of knowledge, services, real world experience, that type of thing. There are organizations, and they tend to be a little bit higher in terms of scale, right? In terms of size and scale, where you have a lot of people sitting around desks looking at spreadsheets all day and trying to figure out how the next quarter is going to look, and their participation in the real world is lacking, for lack of a better term. And you cannot have those individuals, in effect, dictating what's going to occur. They can set some expectations, and we can kind of align behavior according to that. But if there's something that's completely off base, you just basically have to say, no, ain't going to happen. And in the end, that is really, I think that is a good portion of my job and your job when we have clients, is to tell them to be honest with them. If we lie to them, what's going to happen? Yeah. Campaign's going to flop in one way or another. And then what? Then we got to sit there and explain why it did. You're better off saying you're wrong, and here are the 5 reasons why, but here are the 4 reasons, or here are the 4 things we can do to fix what's going on. Fix your expectations in terms of time, maybe extend your timelines or decrease them and decrease the focus of your marketing, right? Do more of a test group. And again, I can go on and on in terms of hypotheticals, but there are many, many different strategies and ways to help a customer be realistic and still achieve their financial monetary goals.
I think that's so true. And I think when I learned early on in my entrepreneurial career, when I first had my first clients and I was in a position where I didn't agree with the direction they were going and I had to say no, and I had to say no, and not just no, but here's why no. It was tough, but it was empowering. And once I did, I realized, you know what? They appreciate it because that's why they hired me. And in fact, they even said, well, you're the expert. We hired you.
Right.
And when they said that, I'm like, all right, game on. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's like, so me telling them no isn't a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And me setting clear expectations on the direction we are going, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And also, I have a few key kind of components that I look for when I'm going through like a pre-onboarding process or maybe even through the sales process for clients. And if I get any indication that this client is going to become, lack of a better term, a huge pain in my ass, then, sometimes it's actually more cost effective to walk away, because you could have one client that's completely just a time vampire that could impact your time to the effect where you're unable to provide the adequate amount of service for your existing clients, and you can't bring up new ones because you've got this, madness, this child of a client that you have to babysit every day. And I don't babysit. So if you're not an adult in terms of being an adult organization, then I have certain ways of determining that ahead of time. And I politely say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. And, we kind of part ways as friends and everything's cool. I'll even provide them with some strategies that they can use, but I'm not going to get deeply involved, because I know it's kind of like, you're walking through the park and you step in a dog pile, right? It's going to take you an hour to clean your shoes off. Sometimes you got to throw the shoes away. I'm not in the mood to do that. So I just prefer to look ahead and not step in it at all. Really? That's a great analogy. How do you work in dog pile, dog shit into a marketing show?
We both worked with plenty of that through our career. I guarantee it. And I'm just curious, do you actually throw your shoes away? Because there's always a way to clean off the dog poop. Unless are you wearing your white ballet shoes out there? No. Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. By the way, is that a clean shirt you're wearing? I mean, you're looking good, man.
I actually, believe it or not, I'm still not wearing pants. That's, obviously that's my thing. Everybody knows. But yeah, I actually did shower, and I actually put on a collared shirt today, which I rarely wear.
You look good.
So.
You look.
I know, it's a very special day. So anyone watching, this is
monumental. It'll probably be the same outfit he wears the next 20 shows, but it's all good.
No. But I do have to cultivate a certain image, So the collared shirt, I have to. Maybe next time a tie. You want to see a tie?
See a tie. A tie and no pants. That is your life story right there.
You would be not so wrong in saying that.
Yeah.
What about you, man? You wearing what? Red?
I'm wearing red. I'm wearing my. Oh no, I'm not wearing my long drive. I have a shirt that says long driver's golf shirt. I don't know. But I have another red shirt, and I'm not wearing it. I thought it was. Not that I'm a long driver.
Golf shirt. Golf is a terrible game. Terrible game.
It's an amazing game. Come on now. Come on.
Yeah, it's terrible. What are you talking about?
I love golf.
It's the worst game. Golf sucks, and it's terrible. The level of detail you have to pay attention to when playing that game is exhausting.
You seem like a Frisbee golfer, if I ever saw one.
Frisbee golfer, I've never played, but yeah, mostly if it's anything, I'll play anything but golf. I tried golf before, and golf is a terrible, terrible game. I'd rather mountain bike all day than play 2 minutes of golf. It's a cruel game. It's not even a game. It's a form of torture. It's self-torture.
It can be a little sadistic for sure. It has its moments, but
oh my God, you twist the head of that golf club just a millimeter or two, and that ball's off by 50 or 100 feet. That's cruelty. I'm sorry.
More than that, clearly that shows how little you hit the ball. So. The only thing I did with golf was drive the golf cart and smoke cigars. There we go. Golf. Now the truth comes out. It's like, well, yeah, you're clearly an expert on golf, and I didn't know this was going to be a sports talk show, but I think we can go there.
Well, if we can cover dog shit, we can certainly talk about golf. No one's stopping us. That's the beauty
of eyes. There's no difference between those two.
Probably not, but I do think golf courses are pretty and they're fun to kind of look at. But that's about it. No, I did. I gave golf a very serious attempt, and I made the effort. I did. I took the time to actually practice and did all those things, and the level where I started from and where I increased to and where I kind of plateaued at, given the amount of time I dedicated to it, I was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I don't need this. It simply wasn't worth the time. But that's just me, though. Some people get, they really kind of, but the thing with golf, and I see a lot of people that golf, it's almost like a grudge. They're like, well, I'm going to get this one way or another. It ceases to be a fun game because they're trying so hard.
We're talking about marketing. There's a great commercial where these four guys walk off a course, and one guy's yelling. He throws his hat in the car, and he throws his clubs in there, and he goes, I hate this game, and I don't know why I'm wearing this hat, and these clubs. He throws them in his car, and he slams the trunk of his SUV, gets in the driver's seat, looks over at his buddy in the passenger seat, says, same time tomorrow, right? And the guy goes, yeah, but it's that's the way golf is, man. It brings out the worst in people, but I love it. I was at one time a decent golfer, single digit handicap, and my game went like this, and it went down like this, and now it's back up like this. I'm now hitting the ball probably better than I ever have, and I'm 46 years old. I'm still hitting the ball really long, hitting it straight. But man, last year I was like dying, and it brings out the worst in people.
Well, not my thing. But you enjoy that.
Fair
golf.
Enough. Well, and you mentioned mountain biking. We both love to mountain bike, so.
Yes, we do. And golf is the reason why aliens don't visit.
That could be that.
I don't want to get into that because they look down, they see a whole bunch of men following a little white ball that they actually hit, thinking that they hit it and forget where it was, and now they're looking for it. It's a strange thing to be observing from space. So that your fault is why we don't have cold fusion yet, because the aliens don't visit. But that's just a side.
The number of balls I've lost over the years, it's and we're talking golf. It's amazing.
Oh. I thought. Oh, never mind. Okay, then please continue.
So let's talk a little bit then about how these clients that you currently are working with. You have an interesting business. You get a lot of referrals. You do great work, and you get long-term engagements. But how do you go out after new business when a client goes away or you're freed up to work on other stuff? What's your approach?
Well, currently I have. The docket is kind of full currently, so I really don't have. Previously, I would reach out directly to people that I know in whether it's marketing industries or friends of friends. So I actually did a very kind of a homegrown organic approach in terms of letting individuals know that I'm available and here's what I do. And I would basically start out with a funnel concept where I would reach out to a certain amount of individuals that would yield a certain amount of conversations and then meetings. And because a lot of my contracts are very, very long term, this is not an ongoing process for my current consultancy. However, as I move to training and everything else, there will be a lot more online funnel work, classes, and so on and so forth.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I know that you do good work, and so the people that work with you, I'm sure, are great. Referrals for other work. And that's one of the things I've really spent my entrepreneurial career on, and probably my sales career too, was on making sure that people walked away viewing me as providing them a good service, and they were happy to refer me to other people. I'm not afraid to ask for referrals. People like Jeffrey Gitomer, he wrote the Little Bit Red Book Selling and several other amazing books, but he doesn't believe you should have to ask for referrals. Well, good luck. You better be amazing, because people, they don't think about it. So I'm not afraid to ask for it if I know they had a good experience. I'm not afraid to ask for testimonials. And I don't feel like I'm forcing them to do it. They're happy to do it because they know.
Right.
But you know what? In my 6 years of owning my own business, I've had a couple of engagements that didn't go the way that I intended. But those were amazing learning lessons. For the most part, referrals, sales activity, I mean, I'm constantly out there trying to open new doors and, juggling a lot. And so Boss Academy Radio is really helping the entrepreneur get real business ownership success strategies. But I own a sales consulting agency, and that, I'm always out there trying to knock on doors and find ways to really engage and build relationships, because that's what it's about today, is relationships. Some of the old sales strategies, the always be closing, the hardcore sales. I'm not saying you don't close, but you've got to be focused on relationships. And I know that's something you're good at. Talk a little bit about your approach to relationship building.
Well, I usually begin with trying to burn as many bridges as I can.
Well, you've done that with me, but I keep coming back because I'm.
I know, because you're just needy. That's all it is. But hey, that's another. We'll discuss that during our counseling sessions.
It's almost like marriage counseling, I think, is what we need, even though we're not married. Clearly, we're not married.
Absolutely. No.
I could do worse.
But
I could do worse.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you definitely could. But, in terms of building relationships, I think that when you begin working with a client and you're very much aware of what you can do for them, and like I said before, a lot of times, you say no for certain reasons. Sometimes I say no because I know that either the scale and scope of what they're doing is either too large or in a direction that I'm just simply not either willing to go into, or I just don't have that much experience in, or something like that. So that's when I'll bow out and say, I'm kind of done. So when I commit to a project, I commit to a project fully, and I'm very upfront about what I do with individuals. And I think a lot of time, that's a lot of the disconnect comes from the fact that people don't define exactly what it is that they're going to provide their customers, and that puts a strain on the relationship from the start. There are expectations that are misaligned, and then things start falling apart. Because when I work with clients, there are very few clients that I work for where I will actually go out and implement the campaigns that I design. I help them implement it, but I have to be very, very upfront about that, about the fact that, yes, I will do the research. Yes, I will write the copy. Yes, I will structure the content, but I'm not going to be on Infusionsoft setting up your campaign. I'm going to map it out for you. And if you have questions, you can ask me and I'll help you. But I just don't have, there isn't enough of me, there isn't enough of me for me to do that on an hourly basis. The research that I do for clients is extensive on their demographics, and it's time consuming. And I also have to take that data and quantify it into something that's useful to them and useful to me, so I can base copy on it.
That honesty, though, that upfront, being clear on what you're willing to do and what you will do. I've made the mistake of not always giving them clear direction, and then they make assumptions. Or I'll give an even more recent example where I had a client that we built a website for them, and we offered to build them a custom CRM tool, or CMS tool, content management system. They didn't do WordPress. We did HTML5. So to build a CMS tool would have to be custom. And they got their proposal, signed the agreement, and then we started talking about CMS. It was never brought up before. But I had a very upset client who one day said, "You're going to charge me extra for this CMS? Why wasn't it included in the original?" And I said, "Because we didn't bid on it." "Yes, we did." "Yes, you did. You brought that up." And I said, "No, I can even show you the emails. I can show you the timeline." Thank God I had the records, because they were extremely upset that in my original proposal that wasn't included. I said, "But here, you signed it on this date, and we didn't start talking about CMS for another week later." So even when I was upfront and honest with what they were going to get, they still found a way to be upset until they found out they were wrong. And you know what their response to it was? It wasn't, "Oh, we're sorry, we screwed up." It was like, "Well, we're going to let this one slide. We're going to let this one pass." Right.
So what do you do at that point? Do you take the high road, or?
I was just like, I'm like, good, because there's not much we can do at this point.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's one of those situations where, again, it's all about being upfront in the beginning and clearly defining, and sometimes using very plain English and defining what you're going to be able to do and not do for a client makes the biggest difference. Because later on, 3 months in, you could be suffering, because they could be coming to you saying, "Okay, so when are you going to have this implemented?" And then you have to go, "What? You want me to do what? Didn't I?" So being very clear and upfront with clients is, especially when you're going to be working with them on a consistent basis or on long-term projects. I know that both me and you are limited in terms of how many projects we can take on, right? At any given point in time, which is why I think that building out training and doing group training and teaching people how to do some of the stuff on their own is going to be so important to their success.
We are really serious about business, but I feel like I'm a child at sometimes, because I know that when I click on the little props button and I give you props, I see you look out of the corner of your eye, that it distracts you.
You're such a mother. Oh, I hate that.
And I'm
shit.
like,
stop with the
like
damn
a little
props.
game. It's like, it's so much fun.
I hate it. How do I turn that shit off?
You don't, and all you can do is give me props back. But I think in the end, those props probably are worth millions of dollars to you. So.
Oh, they are. Here, let's do this. Oh, that's fun. You like that? You want some more? Here you go.
The best part is I have a video camera blocking the props, so I don't even see it. But I love how it distracts you every time. Well, Matt, this has been a lot of fun. We said we were going to talk 20 minutes today. Man, we've been talking a lot longer than that. Dave,
how long have we been talking? Holy shit.
Yeah, holy buckets. Anyway, this has been another episode of Unfiltered. I'm Paul Kirch. I'm the host and founder of Boss Academy Radio. You can check me out at bossacademy.com. We got a great show out there, amazing guests. And this handsome gentleman is Matt Zalewski, the founder of the Perception Management Bureau. And you can learn more about him out at thepmb.com. Is that correct?
That's it. You got it.
And like I said, this show is just meant to be kind of a fun, casual talk about marketing, sales, and some other things. And Matt, it's always a treat to get to talk to you.
No, you were going to say trip. Stay with your original feeling on that. It is a trip.
It's a point,
not
trip,
a
treat. It doesn't matter. It's a thrill.
Absolutely. Likewise, man.
All right,
Thank
buddy.
you.